But life is continued work. It's constant learning. The whole concept of retirement, I don't even buy into. We should constantly be working.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voice Visions Presents. And our guest today is known as the youngest commentator ever in MLS history with Inter Miami. He now is, with Nova Southeastern University doing their sports, as well as Barry University. And of course, Plug Talk Sports. His name is Daniel Torres. He doesn't really need an introduction. This is his second time on the show, but I'm so happy to have him back. And how you doing, Daniel, bro? What's up, man? How's your week going?
Man, it's Monday. Mondays for me usually stressful. Writing articles, updating the website, and shows usually on Monday nights. So always getting prepared for that. But can't complain, man. Everything's good.
Today we're going to be talking about mental health. Of course, June is known as Men's Mental Health. It's a kind of a topic that is still very, even with social media and different conversations going around in the entertainment industry and stuff, it is still something that's very taboo, especially among men. Why do you think that, I guess, men's mental health, like, is still taboo, among us men?
Oh, Isaac, man, there's so many. I think that there's so many things around it, especially for us as men. Uh, I think we are expected as men, we are expected to lead, especially in a household when you have a family and stuff like that. We are expected to lead. So you have that pressure. You have that pressure of having to deliver results. If you don't deliver the results, you're not good enough. Um, I still think it's taboo because also is the stigma of men are strong. Men are not supposed to talk about their feelings. Men are not allowed to have feelings. When in all honesty, it's kind of a lie because we were created with human emotion. It's okay to express emotion, and then obviously around us guys, it can be like, oh man, look at this dude, bro. Like he is expressing his emotions and stuff like that. Other guys tend to view other guys like that as weak or sensitive. So that just I think that puts guys who excuse me, who struggle with that as like, all right, I don't want to speak up because I'm going to be made fun of, or I'm going to be picked on, or I'm going to be looked as sensitive or having a more quote unquote feminine side. So I think that's why really a big portion of why guys don't speak up, and just with the pressures of society and this world puts on humans in general, but men as well.
I have to agree. I think it's especially, like, let's say sports, right? Imagine you're in the locker room and a teammate pulls you to the side and he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm going through," like, you might look at them like, yeah, like, sensitive, or
Yeah.
like, toughen up, like, don't worry about it. But this is, like, I think this is a great subject to talk about because it's so apparent, and we have some stats to read. This is from the ADA, so men's mental health awareness article that just came out, and it basically talks about some stats regarding us men, and it's pretty crazy. It's though men account for 10% of patients with bulimia, anorexia, men with an eating disorder are less likely to seek professional help. And so that 10%, it's very small, I guess, when you compare everyone. But when you talk about men, like, we just don't seek the help that we need to. Over 6 million men suffer from depression per year, but male depression often goes underdiagnosed. More than 3 million men in the US have a panic disorder or some kind of phobia. 2.3 million Americans are affected with bipolar disorder, and an equal amount of men and women develop the illness. The age of onset for men is between 16 and 25 years old. And then the last one here, one of the leading causes of the disability in America is schizophrenia. Approximately 3.5 million people in the US have been diagnosed, and here's the kicker: 90% of those who are diagnosed are diagnosed by the age of 30. So it's pretty apparent, like from that 16 years
Yeah.
old to like 30 years old, where you're developing as a man, and you know, your hormones and all your stuff, your body's changing. It's just crazy, because I guess crazy is not the best word, but it
Yeah.
is alarming, right? The issues that happen, and we don't talk about it as much. So I guess to speak on that, maybe you can share some insight on maybe your own journey, how you
Right.
became an advocate for like mental health, and why is it so important to you?
So it's crazy that you say those numbers, Isaac, because those numbers really around that age really is when I started to just develop anxiety. It was right out of high school, 2017. I graduated 2016 from high school. I was 18 years old, starting out in college. I think for men, I think that's really when you start to realize, like, all right, you're no longer in the bubble of high school, going to classes and stuff like. Not that you can't experience real world issues during those years, but really when you start to transgress from or try to move forward from high school into college is when reality really starts to set in. You're really transforming from a kid to an adult, and start facing real world problems and real life responsibilities that really could hit you in a flash. And I think that's what started happening to me. I was in a relationship with somebody who ended up passing from cancer. My grandfather at that point got diagnosed with ALS, and I had no idea at that point anything about that disease. I was paranoid of what if this was hereditary, if I could one day get it, how I was going to deal with it if I ever got it. And so all those things start to work into your mind. And plus, starting to get into college and your grades and your career path, what are you going to do for your life? All those things started working up within me. And I still, to this day, it's probably one of the darkest moments of my soon to be now 26 years of life. Um, I still wish that not even my enemies go through something like that. Um, I just felt depressed, man. I just to get out of the bed in the morning to do something was a lot. It was like a war in my mind every single day. I think the best part of the day was going to shower and going to bed because like it's just peace and quiet. And even going to bed, man, and like I'd wake up, I can sleep 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours. And I'd wake up and I'd still feel tired. It was like, the cloud over me that just would not go away. Uh, and you could see it. People could see it in my face. I'm like, man, you look exhausted. And I'm like, I'm sleeping like a lot of hours, but it's just like it doesn't go away. I don't know what's going on. You start to lose interest in things that you normally love and enjoy. Man, I love soccer and I love sports. Um, I would play and I'm just like, this is not bringing me any sort of fulfillment or joy. Like, what am I doing? I think the scary part of all of it is you start to get really, really intrusive, dark thoughts pass through your mind, and that's really scary. And you feel like almost like you're paranoid. Um, I can tell you from the top of my mind, I still remember it. My first ever panic attack. I was in Chicago, and I was walking back to my hotel. It was night. Had stopped at a Starbucks. As I'm walking back after the Starbucks to the hotel, I don't know, man. Like I started to feel like this doom of fear, like in me. I'm like, someone's out, like someone's gonna get, like I'm about to die. Like my heart rate is accelerating. Like my hands started getting like clammy, and like I started sweating. And this is Chicago in October. Like it is not hot in Chicago in October. So I'm like, why am I sweating? It's not even hot outside. Your breath starts to get a little bit more, more heavy. Uh, you get agitated, like someone like ask you a question, you get agitated. Um, And for me, and this was the first panic attack of many in the beginning of all of this, uh, I got to the hotel room and I threw up because that was my way, that was my body's way of like fight or flight response, and trying to, and I had never had a panic attack before, so I literally thought I was dying. Like I didn't know what was wrong with me, so I figured out it was a panic attack, and I had several of those. Um, After all that, you know, I was sitting in a classroom. I still remember this. I was sitting in a classroom in college, and I said to myself, like, I was just over it. Like, I was tired of it. I said to myself, man, I'm tired of like feeling this way. I know this is not me. I know my personality. I know the type of person that I am. I feel like I'm being robbed of my joy and my personality of everyday life. Like, I need to do something about this. And that's when I called my mom up. And thankfully, both of my parents and my family were very open about mental health and supportive of mental health. And I checked myself in the hospital uh, that night. And not gonna lie to you, man, it was a very humbling and humiliating experience. Um, they wanted to send me to a facility. My mom didn't want them to send me to a facility because, again, I've never had any of these, uh, you know, challenges before. Um, so they sent in a social worker to evaluate me without me knowing. So I got evaluated, and they're like, "Yeah, he doesn't need to go to uh, a facility." So they kept me overnight, and then a psychiatrist came in, evaluated me, and I was 19 at the time, and he was like, I don't take patients that are 21 and over, but my son graduated from the same high school that you did, which our high school is a very close, tight knit brotherhood community. Um, so that meant a lot to me. It made me very emotional at that moment. And from that, I got diagnosed with just generalized anxiety and depression. And I still take Lexapro. It's an anxiety medication and depression medication. I take that every single morning, and that was 2017, and from there I went on a road to recovery, and it helped. It's helped a lot, and as Isaac introduced me, I've been up to a lot of things, and I feel good. I feel great. Obviously, it's gonna be normal to have your days because we're human. You're not expected to be 100% every day or happy every day. We're not machines. We're human, and when those days hit, it's okay. You just need to find those things that you cope with and how to deal with it.
But first off, like I do want to say, thank you, for sharing your story and being brave enough to go to the hospital, checking yourself out, see what's going on, and not, I know some people internalize it and they say they brush it off, and then, they probably have a panic attack that's probably even worse than the first one because they didn't get it, they didn't go to get help. Um, I know, at least for me, I won't dwell on it too much, but back in 2013, I lost my grandmother, and that was like my hero. That was the person I always went to. So when that happened, I felt so lost. It was my senior year of high school, and I was in wrestling. I was in sports. I will tell you, I could hear the teacher say anything or my coaches say anything. I did not care. I didn't, for weeks on end. I didn't care about the relationship I was in at the time. I didn't care about my
Yeah.
homework, my wrestling, football, all that stuff. Like everything kind of just
Yeah.
checked out. And I mean, I went on to graduate, but I just did not care about school or anything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, I would say, until 2016, 2017 that I started learning more about that experience and almost appreciating that experience, because I felt like that was my battle that I had to go through, right? And we can talk about spirituality and things like that.
Mhm.
Like, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian as well, and for a long time I was angry at God, and that was my own just I don't know, process I had to go through. So let's talk about coping mechanisms. I know in that time, even though I'm a Christian, even though I knew better, I fell into temptation. I fell into, smoking and going to parties. Nothing wrong with parties, but, partying shouldn't be the main thing that you're using to cope, right, with the
Yeah.
mental health and drinking and all that. But how do you cope now, right? Now that you know about yourself, you know how to kind of take care of yourself. What do you do positively to cope with anxiety and stress and things like that?
Well, as you mentioned, I am a Christian. Right around that time in 2017, when all that happened that I just explained, is when I started taking my faith seriously. I was raised in a Christian household. And that's really when I started taking my faith seriously. And the way I look at it, Isaac, is I look back and I say to myself that God took me through all of those things so that I can be the person that I am today. I like to tell people who struggle from anxiety that yes, it could be a dark moment, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. And you're going through the things you're going through for a specific reason. And there's a verse that is my favorite. It's on my Instagram, John 13:7. It says, "You may not know what I'm doing now, but later you will find out." And it can't be any more true. I look at my life and the things that God has done with my life, taking me out of that darkness to where I'm at now, is a complete full 360. And so I always relay that to people. There is a reason, and that you can use that as being a light in this world to help others that necessarily don't have any sort of faith or any hope to cling on to into life. Now, in terms of coping, I will be honest, it can be an everyday battle. And you really cannot just feed into it and think about it every day like, oh my God, like another day where I'm struggling with anxiety and depression again. You need to just get up and do what you need to do with your normal routine and with your life. And even though you don't feel like doing it, because there's some days where I wake up, I'm like, oh, I gotta, even though I love this so much, I gotta do this, even though I feel like laying in bed and doing nothing or watching Netflix or playing PlayStation. But no, you can't, because if you do that, you're just letting your anxiety and your depression win. You're letting it defeat you. The ways that I find cope aside from my faith is, I love to exercise. I work out 3 times a week with a personal trainer. And I love that because I love the competitive edge and just the training and pushing myself and to, tell myself that I can instead of saying that I can't do that, and improving my overall health. And yes, it is exhausting. Sometimes it is exhausting and I feel dead after those workouts, but you feel great also mentally and physically. I love playing soccer. That's also another way where I relieve stress. And I love playing the game that I love, and playing it with friends, is a great way. So those two things, my faith, my work, I love my work. Just being dialed in of what I'm doing, and just the goal of, I want to be the best version of myself in what I'm doing every day possible. And again, it sounds cliche of just trying to be 1% better every single day. That's what I personally think about when I wake up in the morning and I have my quiet time. I start my day with quiet time. That's how I start it. I can't go on without any of my days without having that quiet time in the morning to pray, to meditate, to reflect. And I ask myself, how can I be better today than I was yesterday? I think about, how did I mess up yesterday? Where are things that I failed on yesterday that I can be better today? And I put that into play, and it helps. It helps mentally when you have goals. There's things that you're looking forward to in life, things that you want to accomplish. And of course, none of that is possible without community, your family, your friends, and, well, for me, a faith-based community where they will hold me accountable when things are not looking so good. When things are struggling, mentally, or even just anything life related, where you have people to talk to that remind you of God's goodness and just your purpose in life, and chasing your calling. So those are just ways that I cope, and I find joy in everyday life even though mental health can be an every single day battle.
Thank you. That's an awesome answer. Very positive too, because like I said, some people may turn to the wrong things
Yeah.
to try to cope, and then in the end, it's just making everything worse. Thank you. Big shout out, of course, to Plug Talk Sports. Big shout out to Barbershop Talk. You know, you guys got great things going on. Any shout outs before we wrap things up here in this episode?
Well, first, as always, man, I gave a speech. I think it was like 2 months ago at an elementary school. And the first thing I said was, when they gave me the microphone, is, of course, I need to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for just allowing me to have the platform to do all of these great things, and to have these important conversations. Obviously, my parents, who support me every single step of the way, even when I can be stubborn, and even when I can be hard-headed and difficult to deal with. And all my friends who love and care for me and always check up on me. You know, this whole thing, life, it's, you can't do it without your tribe, without your crew. A lot of people like to take credit for themselves, for their successes, but it's not only you. It takes a whole tribe, and it takes a whole crew. So I just want to thank my again, God, my family, and my friends for just allowing me to really be selfish, to chase my dreams, because a lot of times there's a lot of events that I can't make because I got to take a nap. I got to work out. I got to study. I got to do my notes, prepare for a game. I got to go to a game, or I got to travel. And that takes away a lot. And they understand what I do and what I love. So I just want to shout out every single one of those people who really allow me to do what I do, and for keeping me accountable, and of course, always looking out after how I'm doing mentally. So all of those people, I love you, and I appreciate you guys.
But life is continued work. It's constant learning. The whole concept of retirement, I don't even buy into.